Hey there, welcome back to Creepy Encounters. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the videos. Parents of Reddit, what is the most dark/thing thing your children have said? My niece drew a picture of a man in her room that she kept telling her parents about. He had two different colored eyes, and one was gray. When asked why it was gray, she responded because he can see the storm coming. We were driving down a dark, snowy highway late one evening, final stretch of a 16-hour-long road trip. My son, who was around 4 or 5 at the time, was in the back seat and becoming a bit restless. He suddenly covered his face with a blanket and announced loudly, "I don't want to get glass on my face." A few moments later, a pickup truck towing some snowmobiles pulled out in front of a tractor trailer a few cars in front of us and got hit, spinning out into the median. Fortunately, we avoided the accident completely. It was indeed a bit creepy, though, almost as though he predicted there was going to be an accident right in front of us. My 6-year-old daughter in the passenger seat a few days ago looked at me and said, "Dad, when I'm 7 I'm going to kill you." "No, wait, when I'm 8. I had to ask, "How are you going to do that?" She smiled and said, "I'm gonna drive over your head with this car." I have a 3-year-old daughter. She tells me that a red man comes into her room at night through her window. His name is Consequences and he's mean to her. She said he hurts her and stares at her while she is in her bed. She says that he comes in a spaceship with other red men. I have no idea where she would get the material for this story, and she really believes it. I've locked her window for her and pulled the blinds, all in an attempt to convince her that no one is getting in through her window. Sometimes, in the morning, she'll say, "It didn't work, Mama, Consequences got in last night again. I hope it's a phase and it will pass." My 4-year-old son said, "Daddy, I want to drill into your tummy, crawl inside and eat your dinner." The food was okay, but I didn't think it was worth that much effort. When my niece was around 3 or 4 years old, she told me she used to have a baby but it drowned. The baby was called Peanut Butter, but still. My daughter was about 2. I was giving her a bath. At the time, I was in the beginning of a mental breakdown due to marital stress. One of the things I tend to do is sort of live in a different world in my head while in real life, I'm on autopilot. So, my little world involved a sort of ritual use of a sword. I was playing a scene from that in my head while bathing my daughter. While I was standing her up, she asked, "What's the long knife?" I froze for a moment, and just said, "It's a sword." I didn't say anything else, and from there on in, I tried really hard not to be in that world around her anymore. I was tucking in my 2-year-old. He said, "Goodbye, Dad." I said, "No, we say good night." He said, "I know. But this time it's goodbye." Had to check on him a few times to make sure he was still there. While changing my daughter in front of the open closet door, she kept looking around me and laughing. I asked her what was so funny. She said, "The man." To which I replied, "What man?" She then pointed at the closet and said, "The man with the snake neck." I turned around and nothing was there. I'm afraid to look into the history of my house to see if anyone hung themselves in the closet. At least she wasn't scared. Daddy sleep, then pushing my head underwater at the pool. Not to me, but to his grandmother. He was cuddling with her and being very sweet. He was about 3 at the time. He takes her face in his hands, and brings his face close to hers, then tells her that she's very old, and will die soon. Then he makes a point of looking at the clock. I was on a bus recently, and we were stopped outside a walk-in clinic. A little girl in the seat in front of me turned to her dad and said, "Death is the poor man's doctor." And that was that. I jokingly asked, "What's the best way to get a girlfriend?" 7-year-old's response, "Tell her to be my girlfriend or she'll never see her parents again." This sort of relates. It still makes me laugh hysterically. My childhood friend recently found his journal from when he was about 6 or 7. One entry said something along the lines of, "Sometimes mommy gardens. Sometimes daddy works inside the house. When daddy thinks I'm with mommy, and mommy thinks I'm with daddy, sometimes I like to go into the neighbor's garage and play with their dangerous tools." For some reason I find this to be hysterical, specifically tricking the parents and the dangerous tools part. He has no recollection of this happening. My 5-year-old son asked me last week, "What do you see through the black circles in my eyes when you're controlling me when I'm at school?" I was sound asleep, and at around 6 a.m. I was woken up by my 4-year-old daughter's face inches from mine. She looked right into my eyes and whispered, "I want to peel all your skin off." The backstory here is I had been sunburned the previous week, and was starting to peel. In my sleep-addled state, however, it was pretty terrifying for a few seconds. I didn't know if I was dreaming, or what was going on. I don't have kids, but once, visiting some friends on a farm, my buddy's youngest girl, 5 or 6, at the time, was afraid of the chickens. I tried to explain to her that the chickens weren't there to hurt us, but she wasn't having it. So I'm sitting around the fire pit, looking at one of the chickens a few feet in front of me when I feel hot breath in my ear as she whispers, "See? He's always watching." Horrific and hysterical all at once, my son, about 6, asked my mother to lay down on her stomach, then he sat on her butt and started bouncing up and down and proclaimed, "Now we're mating like reptiles. Thanks Discovery Channel." My coworker's 4-year-old daughter always thought that the rattling of the water pipes in the kitchen cupboards were white wolves, and the sound always scared her. One day she was sitting at the kitchen table and she said, "Mom, the white wolves aren't bad. They're our friends." Her mom encouraged the idea by saying, "Yes, the white wolves are protecting us. They are our friends." Then her daughter added in, "They're our friends, but not the man who crawls on the floor and stands by my bed." I work in a preschool. Creepy shit gets said and done all the time. The one that sticks out to me happened last year. There is a small kitchenette area in our classroom that the kids use during free time for playing house or whatever pretend games they think up. There was one little girl that I was keeping a close eye on, mostly because of how withdrawn from the other kids she was. I noticed she was playing with a baby doll in the kitchenette, rocking it back and forth and singing to it. She then took the baby, shoved it into the play oven and slammed the door shut. She turned around, looked straight at me, and said, "Sometimes bad babies go in timeout," in the creepiest little girl voice I've ever heard before, smiling and running off. That one kind of shook me. When I was about 3, we had a cat that had stillborn kittens. I asked my father if we could make crosses for them, which he did. As he was making them, I asked, "Aren't those too small?" "Dad, what do you mean?" "Me, aren't we going to nail them to them?" "Dad," after several moments' silence, "we're not going to do that." "Me, oh." My toddler went through a phase where she would just constantly say hi to things. Hi 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 hi. One day, it came out sounding more like die 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 die. So I say to her, "What's that you're saying?" And she turns to face me and just whispers, "Die." My niece was sitting on the couch with a weird look on her face. Her mom asked her what she was thinking about, and she said, "I'm imagining the waves of blood rushing over me." Turned out they had been at a local science museum with an exhibit on the circulatory system. One of the features was a walk among some giant fake blood vessels, and she was remembering that. When my son was little, maybe 3, he used to do this weird crawl where he would slide his forehead along the floor. That was pretty creepy in itself. Then one night he crawled across the hallway into my room like that and stood up a few inches from my face and made a weird meow sound. He got into bed with me and went to sleep. Another time he was freaking out about a monster in the basement, so we went down and saw nothing, of course, and as I turned out the light and headed upstairs, and he said he's right behind us now. I might have peed a little. Possibly the creepiest thing he did was one day I scolded him for misbehaving, so he hid his head under his blanket. I pretended I couldn't find him by saying, "Where's my little Carson?" He slowly lowered the blanket and with a dead evil stare said, "Carson is gone, I am Rick. I'm certain he's possessed." We never knew any Ricks, as far I can remember. Still don't. Never figured out where he picked up the name. My noticeably pregnant sister and I were having a conversation at the dining room table. My 4-year-old son was also present and asked my sister if there was a baby in her belly. She affirmed. He, completely straight-faced, slid from his chair and headed for the kitchen saying, "We need to get it out. I'll go get the knife. I don't even know." I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.